and we are here to talk about presence and mindfulness in this quarantine time. I'm going to be bringing on a few people who are experts at this. First, we're going to be talking to Abigail Soma, followed by Kathleen Stetson. And this is a series I'm calling Talk About Talking, where we are going to talk about things that need to be talked about today. We'll have a conversation today. It'll be casual. If anyone who's watching wants to send questions, please do. We'll answer them, and then we'll make this available to watch later too. And so, I'm going to Soma, and we'll start our chat. Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone. Hi, Abby.
Hi, great to see you.
It's so good to see you. What's it been since we've seen each other? 5 years, maybe?
It's been a few years for sure. Yes, it has.
Wow. And I was trying to remember, did Priya Parker first introduce us?
Yes, she did.
She
Yeah,
did.
absolutely.
Yay. That's so nice. Priya Parker, whose work is all about gathering and bringing people together in community. It's a really interesting moment for that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of shifts, a lot of changes.
Yeah. And Abby, you are currently in New Jersey, but you live right now in Vienna, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. So that's been kind of surreal to be away from home while all of this has been happening. It's been a different set of challenges.
Yeah.
Uh, so great in some ways, but yeah, unexpected. Like for everybody, unexpected. Yeah.
Unexpected, I know. I know. And why don't you introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we can have a chat about your work.
Okay, sounds good. So my name is Abigail Soma, and my company's called The Mindful Goods, and I work with individuals and with companies on bringing more presence and connection and purpose into homes and workplaces. So in this case, the goods are usually the goods you buy at the store, but these are the best kind of goods, the intangibles.
Mm.
And primarily, I'm working with mindfulness. I use a range of different techniques, but I'm a big believer in mindfulness, and it's my go-to.
Yeah. And what brought you to the work of mindfulness?
I think as somebody said to me the other day, none of us come to it from a good place. Like we all come to it because we're struggling. For the most part, it's struggle that brings us there. And then it's the benefits that keep going, and then you see them in your own life and what it's done for you, and you want to share it with others. I guess it comes down to that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. And so, how has what you work on or how you see the world been affected in the last 3 weeks, given what we're going through together?
Well, I mean, at the same time that I have so much compassion and sensitivity for what's going on, and for all of the struggles that people are going through. My hope hasn't really been dimmed that we're going to somehow emerge from this in a better way. And I think I see more interest in the kind of work I'm doing, a greater desire to be connected, but connected in a more meaningful way, and a willingness to put ourselves out there in ways that we weren't doing before because we didn't need to. And now suddenly that need is greater, and we're responding to that. So it's really tough, but I'm also really hopeful that that something positive can emerge from when this passes, that we'll emerge a better people.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I'm hopeful too. I know there's going to be so much loss and hard around along the way, but I am hopeful. Yeah.
Well, and I think that hope is a practice. It doesn't come easily in these times. It's a practice, and it's part of the practice is how do I sustain my hope during these challenging days amidst the news I'm hearing and the struggles I'm hearing. So it's something that we come back to every day to sustain ourselves.
And how do you put that into practice tangibly? How do you practice hope?
The first thing is to set aside time for it. And I think that everybody's overwhelmed. It's a strange thing for me in a way that I'm home all the time, but I don't feel less overwhelmed. And I think other people are experiencing that too. We're overwhelmed in a different way. But at least that 10 minutes has to be set aside. And I would say foremost that for me, I call it cultivating peace. I mean, you take that 10 minutes to cultivate the space of peace, although there are practices that you can use to cultivate hope. There's something I'm listening to right now from Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey. It's called Hope in Uncertain Times. I mean, some people might consider it meditation light. I don't. I love it. I think that there's a lot of really good messages in there. So I'm using that. I really do. I don't mind where my my sense of calm comes from. I'll take it wherever. But it's foremost about setting aside the time and embodying those messages about possibility, how we speak to ourselves, how we, the affirmations or the mantras that we use during our meditation, that, we come back to the space of goodness.
Yeah. And I love on your website, you talk about how that hope and goodness can start with just one person at a time. And can you talk about that philosophy a bit, of that one person at a time, and how we can build that as we are on our own, most of us right now?
Well, I think it has to start one person at a time. It has to start at the individual level, because we're so we so contagious in a way. I mean, not to use the pun during these times of the virus, but our emotions are so contagious. And what I do for myself to bring myself into a space of calm and peace benefits my family, and benefits my friends, and benefits everybody that I interact with. And so while it starts with one person, one of the memes I've seen now is that panic is contagious, but so is calm. So in a way, I've heard some people say they don't want to go to the positive place right now. This is all too hard. This is all too sad. But it's, in some ways, we owe it to each other, because we lift each other up, or we drag each other down. And so, so it has to start with us. It has to start with the individual, and individuals then come together and they create movements and they have power. So it's not a a narcissistic thing. It's not all about me. It's about how I fill myself up, and then share that with everyone else.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I love what you said about we're contagious. And I always believe that in terms of the way we communicate. And it's in this moment, particularly, what we're putting out into the universe is so critically important, right? And so I love that idea. And the way you talk about mindfulness, the way you talk about your work and meditation has always really inspired me, because it always feels like the heart of it is good, is light. And I've always gotten that from you. And I was thinking the other day, you and I had a meditation class together years ago. And it was my first group meditation class. And you taught me in that class loving kindness meditation. And I resisted it so much. There's something about speaking those words, and it's so challenging. And in these last few weeks, I've not only relied on it so much, but I've used it with Billy. So much. And her and I, every morning, we say loving kindness for ourselves and each other and the people we love.
And it's powerful. It's really powerful. Yeah. And I think the Dalai Lama said something to the effect of, if you're going to practice one kind of meditation, let it be this one.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And so with my kids as well, we call it sending love, but it's the same idea that at night before we go to bed, we send love to somebody who we might think needs some extra love. We think of one or two people, and we all choose, and we send love to that person. And it's the same essence as the loving kindness meditation. And what a way to instill our children with these values of compassion and interconnection. And yeah,
I love that. And so you have twins.
that's right.
How old are they now?
5.5. They're 5.5.
Wow. Wow. And so how has your parenting journey been these past few weeks, and how does mindfulness and presence play into that?
Well, first of all, they would love to be here, like right beside me, looking in the camera.
I wish they were.
I actually have them on the tablet now. I'm like, okay, now is the time for you to get the tablet. So that's incredibly challenging because we are a family where I have more flexibility in my schedule than my partner does. There are days where he's working 12 hours shifts,
Wow.
12 hours. And then it's really on me. And I imagine for where both parents have very demanding schedules and trying to manage kids, that just must be completely overwhelming. It's already overwhelming for me, as I'm sure it's overwhelming for you. I mean, for me, it's gotten a little bit easier as my kids are older. But one of the most amazing things that has happened to me during these last 3 weeks is that my daughter, she wants to do meditation with me, and she wants to just sit there. And so that's
Wow.
been brilliant. My son says it's boring. I read one thing from a meditation teacher where she says when she's frustrated, she just sits on the couch and starts, no matter what's happening around her, no matter who's doing what. And they've sort of learned that they just, okay, mommy's meditating now. If I ask her 10 times to get me something, she's not going to, because she her time. And so I think the other things that isn't that cool? It only works so for me, but I think the other things we can do is really try to preserve that time late at night or early in the morning for ourselves. And then even the mini practices, the 3 breath practices to help ourselves when we feel overwhelmed. And I mean, I have had 1 or 2 instances where I have behaved in a way I wasn't so proud of, and then we're back to repair and compassion and self-compassion, I explain to my kids, I want them to understand that they, if they make a mistake, they fix it and then they move on, and then so I have to be able to do that myself.
Oh my goodness, you're speaking my language. Yeah. And that, what you said about the 3 breaths, I've been, in the first few years of motherhood, I found it so hard to really sit for 10 minutes. So I've always been working in mini meditations for myself, but right now I've been forced to sit. It's not even a choice. It's been so interesting. But also I feel like I'm meditating constantly. It's something that I constantly have to do in order to keep returning to present. Stay
sane, to really stay sane during this time. And I think there's been an explosion of offerings in meditation. Explosion. There's so much out there. There's so much out there that's free, and so it's the right time to start. I mean, it's the right time to really become acquainted and find what works for you, because many people think that it can't work for them, but there are many different ways to get to that space that you need to get to. And so it's really about as you said, for you, it started out with the mini practice. And so I know a lot of people get discouraged on the way there, but there are many ways into as you said.
I love that. I know people get discouraged on the way there, but there are many ways. That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, Abby, I'm so glad that you were on here today to talk about this. Would you tell us how to get in touch with you?
Sure. So my website is www.mindfulgoods.com, and pretty much every week I am doing a group meditation, so I'm happy to have people join on for that, and also to follow along on my Instagram, where I'm doing a number of mini practices as well.
Wonderful, Abby. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm sending you all my best, and I'll be present with you.
Yep. Have a great evening. Bye.
Okay, bye. All right, and here we are with Kathleen Stetson. I know Kathleen from a wonderful network of women called The List. Hi, Kathleen, how are you today?
Oh, I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing as well as can be expected during these very strange times.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And can you begin by telling us who you are and a bit about what you do?
Yeah. So I'm an entrepreneurship coach, an entrepreneur coach, and I work with founders and senior team members of startups of all kinds, as well as Renaissance people across the country. And I help them develop a greater understanding of themselves, greater
Mhm.
self-awareness, so that they can make better decisions for themselves and for their startups.
Yes, wonderful. And I've been reading about your work for a long time, and I learned in reading your bio that you were an opera singer,
Yeah.
and that's so fascinating. I come a bit from that world too, and I love hearing that.
Yeah, yeah. We right, I think we share some performing arts,
We
yes,
do.
passion. Yeah. Um yeah, that's, I grew up singing and thought that maybe that's what my career was going to be, and pursued that for quite a while, college and then grad school, and then after getting a master's in it, realized, oh my God, wait, now I actually have to be an opera singer.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
what did I get myself into? Um, and so
Wow.
realized that, that was just not going to be my everyday, all the time, eat, sleep, breathe thing. And have done some other, had many other interesting adventures since then.
Yeah. And now you piloted a program at MIT was it last year?
Last year, and we're doing it again this
Yeah.
year.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, hopefully, expanding the program to some other accelerators and things out there, which is
It's
exciting.
so, so important. Would you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it really was exciting. It was wonderful that they took the leap to do this. So it was a self-awareness program, the first kind of program of this sort of ilk. And the idea was to help the entrepreneurs develop a stronger mental game. Because entrepreneurship is so hard. Anyone who owns their own business knows that, yeah, it's such a hustle, and it takes such mental fortitude and perseverance. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the incidence of depression and loneliness and anxiety is so much higher in entrepreneurs than the general
Mhm.
population. There was a study, which you may have seen, that shows that 50% of entrepreneurs have had or have some kind of mental health condition versus 30% in the general population.
Wow.
Yeah, and now, oh my God, I mean, now we're all experiencing anxiety and
Yeah.
feelings, and it's just in entrepreneurship. I didn't think I experienced it myself. I started a startup when I was at MIT doing my MBA back earlier, like in this decade, um, and. And I really, it was so hard, and ultimately I did, fall into depression, and it took a while to
Yeah.
extricate myself from that. So based on my personal experience and the experiences of so many others, I created this program to teach these 84 entrepreneurs meditation and mindfulness, and their benefits to everyday life and to entrepreneurship. And the really amazing thing is, they didn't just say like, oh yeah, okay, great. They listened to the research backed benefits. We practiced it. We
Mm.
also, there was coaching so that they could really sort of vent about what's going on, and get feedback. And by the end, we actually had measurable results to show that it actually created behavior change. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I was pretty confident that it was going to work out, but
Yeah.
I was even surprised by the results. So, like, just a couple of stats. Before the program, only 20% of the entrepreneurs had any kind of meditation or mindfulness practice. And by the end, 88% had started their own practice. And we didn't require that at all. We just required them to come every other week to an hour-long coaching session. Um,
Yeah.
so they really, experienced the benefits and decided to implement them in their own lives, which was cool. And then we saw like 53% of the entrepreneurs actually more often from the beginning to the end of the program were using like a conscious tool to work through stress.
Wow.
Yeah, taking a breath, or taking a beat and practicing a mindful technique, things like that, or actually integrating in their mindfulness practices into their everyday lives. So.
And then I read that 34% of participants established a meditation or mindfulness practice, and 40% were more aware of their emotions.
Yeah, the 40, I love that one. So
wow.
One of the big, mindfulness, as you may know, is the paying attention on purpose to your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations non-judgmentally. And I think, thoughts is an interesting one. I think that's easier for us to sort of understand because, racing mind, we've all experienced that. We know what it is to observe our thoughts at least a little bit.
Right.
Maybe we don't train ourselves to do that all the time, but it's not crazy to think about that. Feelings, on the other hand, our culture really has taught us to, let it go, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, just like, or shake it off. I don't know why I'm quoting all these songs right now.
I know.
But and those can be really good things, but the thing you need to do before you let it go or shake it off is like feel that feeling and acknowledge like it's so uncomfortable because you have to let it go through your body. But if you don't actually feel the feeling, it can overtake you. It can manifest itself in, physical ailments. So 40% of the entrepreneurs by the end of the 12 weeks were more often choosing to feel their feelings rather than ignoring them.
Wow. I have a toddler, and this has been so present, not only in my work, which it always is, but right now with her, because if her feelings are not acknowledged, if her deep anger or frustration is not given space for her to feel it, it's complete chaos. And I really believe it's the same with adults. And we were not taught I was never taught. And I have to tell you, Kathleen, I had a father who meditated 30 minutes a day, every day of my childhood.
Yeah.
But was very private about it.
Yeah.
I was not taught this. I was not taught to sit with myself.
Yeah.
And also I loved how you talked about entrepreneurs and how now we're all in this moment. And what is it about entrepreneurs, first of all, that makes them more susceptible to the stresses you're talking about? But also, what is it about entrepreneurs that can really thrive in this moment?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that the one study that and I say one study not because I'm only quoting one study, but there's only one that anyone ever studied, because there just has not been a lot of work done in this area, and that's something I'm working to rectify. But it's unclear. So I'll say it's unclear whether entrepreneurs. Whether there's something about entrepreneurs specifically that makes them more susceptible to mental health challenges. So, for example, I don't know, is there some correlation between people that are more risk-loving and mental health challenges versus not? I don't know. But we definitely know that entrepreneurship is stressful. So whether or not entrepreneurs are more inclined towards mental health challenges or not, still the work of entrepreneurship is so incredibly stressful. And I do think that entrepreneurs, like, I think they think it's fun. We think it's fun. It's really, to push yourself to, like an athlete, there's a drive to, see what you can do. And so I think that that's a commonality among entrepreneurs. And now in this moment, I think that entrepreneurs are taught and and maybe have this naturally too, to be flexible, to iterate, to be agile. And I think that that's beneficial in this environment because, of course, we're all having to adjust and
Yeah.
come up with new ways of working and potentially new ways of making money. I mean, speaking of the performing arts, all of my friends and colleagues who are in the performing arts, they've all lost all of their gigs, and
I know.
so yeah, we're all having to adjust.
Yeah.
And it's
No.
it's hard, but I think it's over time it's doable. I think the mistake we would all make is to think that we should be just doing it all right now, and we have it, we need to have it figured out. And I don't think that that's realistic. And I think we maybe just need to give ourselves time to feel some crummy feelings. I wanted to swear just then, but
Yeah, I know. I'm very much a fan of swearing, especially in this moment.
yeah.
I love that, and it really reminds me of just reading about your work, and I'm really grateful for the numbers and the statistics, because these soft skills and this emotional intelligence and this awareness is stuff that people are very quick to write off as fluff, although that's really changing. But I see this so much in the CEOs I work with, where there's a real resistance to admitting vulnerability, and all of the work becomes about being, and resisting the urge to do. And in this moment, there's so many memes about you don't have to write King Lear in this moment. And what tools or resources or thoughts can you give to people who are doers, who perhaps have that entrepreneurial spirit in this moment? How can we really maximize mindfulness?
Yeah, I really think it's about paying attention to yourself, and as we're talking about staying present. It's something that you have to do every day. So, something that I'm working on, and I've been working on this for years, but the practice of mindfulness or meditation isn't just something that you do when you sit down. And I sit down now, and now I'm meditating, right? So it's something that you're living every single day. In fact, actually, I was watching Jon Kabat-Zinn, who kind of is the grandfather, maybe father, whatever, in the West, and has written a number of books and founded mindfulness-based stress reduction, etc. He was doing a live session today, and he said, to end the meditation, he normally, you might ring a bell or say, well, we're ending or something, and he was like, I'm not going to do that because this continues. Your life is meditation. And it was like, yes.
Yeah, I love that. I know.
Yeah.
I've been meditating constantly,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't been sitting. And that's what I keep saying. I'm forced to meditate constantly,
Mm-hmm.
every moment, and just try to bring myself back to present, because it's not helpful right now to live in the unknown of the future or the thoughts of the past right now.
Totally. And I think that, people who are maybe not used to meditation or what mindfulness is, or not interested in sort of creating a practice, or, you can really just say well, I'm just going to live the shit out of my life right now.
Yeah.
Live this life that we're living, not, the one that we are scared might happen, or the one that we wish would happen, or the one that we're disappointed didn't happen. But really, and it doesn't mean, I think often when we think of well, you've got one life to live, just really get at it. It's, people think oh, I gotta go bungee jumping, and I gotta make $1 million, and but actually it can really just be I gotta wake up in the morning, and when I make my coffee, I'm gonna smell the ground, and and then as it's brewing, I'm gonna look at the snow, and I'm gonna look at that tree that I can see, and I'm gonna smell it as it's brewing. That's living the shit out of your life.
Yes.
Really experiencing each moment in your body and in your brain,
And perhaps one thing that will be a byproduct of this really, really horrible time is I am more appreciative of those small moments. I'm really savoring the things that
Yeah.
our luxuries and that taste good. And
Yeah.
I was, much more mindless before, and that's been changing. And Kathleen, can you tell us about rational confidence?
Oh, yeah, I would love to. Yeah. So, speaking of things changing and having to adjust now with this new normal, before COVID-19, I was starting to work on, okay, well, how do we make this work that I've been doing with entrepreneurs, how do we make it scalable? How do we bring it to more entrepreneurs? How do we fundamentally change the culture of entrepreneurship, which, really has been pretty bro-y, pretty like fake it till you make it, false bravado, bluster, and how do we change it to something that doesn't result in burnout, that doesn't result in a 70% failure rate, something that's healthier but at the same time successful. And so that's what Rational Confidence is. It's a community of founders and senior team members of startups who want to shift the culture towards something that is healthier, that's based in being aware as an individual and knowing that you as an individual really matter, if not equal to the startup, or well, more than the startup, and at the very least. Because I think as entrepreneurs, usually it's like, well, you have to be so passionate about your startup. You have to no backup plan, gotta, and that's fundamentally over the long, like it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and over the long term, you just can't sustain that. So
No.
So yes, we're putting together this community of entrepreneurs, and it's very exciting. But we had a lot of really good momentum, and then over the past 2 weeks, really, it's been like, okay, let's just sit back for a second here. Let's survey what's happening. Let's not keep like pushing forward, and instead, do this mindfully. So building it a little bit more slowly than I had planned originally, but yeah, we'll be launching programming in the next month, which is really exciting.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm really excited to follow along. I love the website. I love the philosophy. It's so important. And can you tell people where they can find you?
Oh, yeah. If you want more information on Rational Confidence, it's rationalconfidence.com. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter at kathleenstetson.com. There'll be more upcoming in the next couple of weeks as we start to launch Rational Confidence. There'll be more resources on staying self-aware each day. There are a lot of resources out there. I feel like people have really been posting some amazing stuff in their health, and what I want to do is help people just, maintain that. It can be a slog, to stay present when things are difficult. And so I just want to help people, kind of re-up on being present each day.
Yeah, I love that. I know it can be a slog, but it's also been such a lifeline for me, and I know so many others. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this, Kathleen. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to have talked to you and really inspired by you and your work.
Oh, ditto. Right back at you. So yeah.
Okay.